It was a Tuesday evening in a small diner tucked between a laundromat and a used bookstore on the edge of town. The neon sign flickered faintly in the drizzle outside, casting a pinkish glow over the cracked pavement. Inside, the smell of frying onions and warm bread wrapped around the handful of customers like a blanket. It wasn't fancy, but it was the kind of place where tired faces softened under soft yellow lights. At a corner booth sat Ethan, a man in his early 30s whose dark hair was streaked with worry before its time. His daughter, Lily, a bright-eyed 8-year-old with a loose braid falling over her shoulder, traced patterns on the vinyl seat with her finger. Ethan had a folded $5 bill in his pocket, and that was his entire budget for dinner. He had picked up an extra shift at the factory last night, yet his paycheck wouldn't clear until the following morning. Rent was due. Groceries were low. His chest tightened with the knowledge that he couldn't give Lily the dinner she deserved. He glanced at the laminated menu. Most of the meals cost far more than $5. Even the kids' meals were $6.99. He thought of leaving, but Lily had been looking forward to this rare outing all week. She'd been drawing pictures of pancakes and milkshakes at school, excited to have a real dinner out with her dad. He couldn't break her heart. "Daddy," she said softly, "can I get the soup? I like soup." Her small voice cracked his heart a little more. He forced a smile. "Yeah, sweetheart, we'll get some soup." He motioned to the waitress, a middle-aged woman with a name tag that read Marcy. She approached with a warm smile and tired eyes. "What can I get you folks?" Ethan hesitated. "Could we get one bowl of the chicken noodle soup, and, you a broken bar an extra spoon?" Marcy's gaze flicked from Ethan to Lily and back. "Sure thing." She didn't press. She'd seen things like this before. She scribbled on her pad and left. Across the diner, in a booth near the window, a young man in a crisp navy suit watched. His name was Daniel Hale, 28 years old, CEO of a tech startup already making headlines for its meteoric rise. He had been meeting with investors all day and had stopped at the diner for a quiet meal. He wasn't used to diners like these. His usual haunts were sleek restaurants with minimalist menus, but something about the neon sign had felt nostalgic. Daniel noticed the father and daughter the moment they walked in. He noticed the hesitation, the way the man's hand lingered on the menu like a person clutching for lifeline. He noticed the little girl's excitement dim slightly when she saw the prices. And now, as Marcy set down a single bowl of soup and 2 spoons, Daniel felt something in his chest tighten. He remembered his own childhood, his mother juggling 2 jobs after his father left, the nights when she'd feed him first and tell him she wasn't hungry. Back then, strangers had been kind once or twice. A bag of groceries left on the porch, a neighbor's hand-me-down coat. Those moments had stuck with him, shaping him into the man he was. And now here he was, in a position of power and privilege, watching the same story unfold. Daniel's steak and fries arrived. He pushed them around with his fork, thinking. His assistant's voice echoed in his head about tomorrow's meetings, about shareholder expectations. But all he could see was the girl with the braid, her spoon dipping into the soup, her father smiling through his exhaustion. After a few minutes, Marcy returned to Ethan's table to refill their water. She leaned closer and said quietly, "Would you like some bread with that soup?" "On the house." Ethan blinked. "Oh, thank you. That's very kind." Lily's face brightened at the bread basket. She tore off a piece and handed half to her dad. "Here, Daddy. You need to eat too." Daniel set down his fork, heart pounding for reasons he couldn't quite name. He reached for his wallet. But no, he didn't want to embarrass the men in front of his daughter. Charity could sting when pride was involved. He needed to do this carefully. He called Marcy over with a subtle nod. She came, pen poised. "That man and his daughter," Daniel said under his breath. "I'd like to cover their meal. And if you could, bring them whatever they'd like here, dessert, drinks, anything. Just don't tell them it's from me." Marcy's brows lifted, then her face softened. "Got it." She tucked the order pad to her chest and walked back toward the kitchen. Meanwhile, Ethan was breaking the bread into little pieces, making sure Lily got the softer middle. "This is good, huh?" Lily nodded, chewing thoughtfully. "We're like birds sharing crumbs," she said, and he laughed softly at her phrasing. He'd always loved her imagination. Then Marcy reappeared, this time with 2 steaming plates of grilled cheese sandwiches and a side of freezer and 2 chocolate milkshakes piled high with whipped cream. Ethan's eyes widened. Oh, there must be a mistake. We didn't order a. It's already taken care of, Marcy said gently. Enjoy. Lily's mouth fell open in wonder. Daddy, milkshakes. Ethan blinked rapidly, his throat tight. Are you sure? He asked Marcy quietly. Absolutely, she said, and walked away before he could ask more questions. Ethan looked at Lily, who was practically vibrating with excitement. He knew they shouldn't accept, but he couldn't take this moment from her. Maybe it was a mistake, maybe it was a miracle. Either way, his daughter would remember tonight. He picked up his sandwich and took a bite, savoring the simple pleasure of warm food he hadn't had to ration. Across the diner, Daniel watched, a quiet smile playing on his lips. He didn't need thanks. He just wanted them to eat. But as Daniel prepared to leave, something unexpected happened. Lily slipped out of the booth and wandered toward the bathroom. Passing Daniel's table, she stopped. She had noticed him glancing at them earlier. Her eyes were curious but not afraid. You look lonely, she said simply. Daniel blinked, caught off guard. Do I? She nodded. My daddy says sometimes people eat alone because they're thinking big thoughts. Daniel chuckled softly. He's right. I do that. She tilted her head. Are you a teacher? No, he said. I work with computers. That's boring, she said, and he laughed again. Then Marcy called from across the diner. Lily, honey, your dad's waiting. She scampered off. Daniel sat back, stunned at the unexpected conversation. Something about the girl's unfiltered honesty cracked something in him. He watched as Ethan helped her into her jacket, wiping chocolate from her chin. On impulse, Daniel rose and followed them outside. The rain had slowed to a mist, and the streetlight cast halos on the wet pavement. Ethan was kneeling to tie Lily's shoelace when Daniel approached. Excuse me, Daniel said gently. Ethan straightened, wary. Yes? Daniel hesitated, then extended his hand. My name's Daniel. I just a broken bar. I wanted to say your daughter's wonderful. Ethan blinked, then shook his hand. Thanks. She is. Daniel glanced at Lily. You're very brave, you know that? She smiled shyly. Thank you. There was a pause. Ethan shifted, unsure what this man wanted. Daniel sensed his discomfort and chose his words carefully. Look, Daniel said quietly, I don't want to intrude, but I grew up like you're doing right now. I know it's hard, and you're doing an amazing job. Ethan's eyes narrowed slightly. Pride, fear, exhaustion all flickered across his face. We're fine, he said politely but firmly. But thank you. Daniel nodded. I understand. He reached into his wallet and handed Ethan a business card. If you ever need work, or just a hand up, call me. No strings attached. Ethan looked at the card, then at Daniel. He saw a logo he recognized from news articles about tech billionaires. He almost handed it back, but something in Daniel's face stopped him. Thank you, Ethan said finally. Daniel smiled and walked away, leaving Ethan staring at the card under the streetlight. The next morning, Ethan went back to the factory, card still tucked in his wallet. He didn't plan to call. People like Daniel didn't help people like him. But as the weeks passed, his hours were cut. Rent went up. His car broke down. One night, after Lily had fallen asleep, Ethan sat at the kitchen table staring at the card again. He dialed the number. To his surprise, Daniel answered personally. Ethan, I'm glad you called. They met the next day at Daniel's office. It was sleek and intimidating, all glass walls and chrome finishes. Ethan felt out of place in his work boots and faded jacket. But Daniel greeted him like an old friend. I need someone I can trust to manage logistics at our new warehouse, Daniel said. It's good pay, steady hours, and benefits. You'd be perfect. Ethan's jaw dropped. Why me? Daniel leaned back. Because I watched you share a single bowl of soup with your daughter rather than let her go hungry. That told me everything I need to know about your character. Ethan's throat tightened. Yeah, broken bar. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Daniel said simply. Months passed. Ethan thrived in his new job, rising quickly because of his reliability and integrity. Lily blossomed too as she joined a science club at school, started piano lessons thanks to the steady paycheck, and every week she asked to go back to the diner for milkshakes. Ethan and Daniel developed a quiet friendship built on mutual respect rather than charity. One evening, as they sat in Daniel's office reviewing shipping schedules, Ethan said softly, I never thanked you for that night at the diner. Daniel waved it off. "You don't owe me thanks." But Ethan insisted. "No, really. You reminded me there's still kindness in the world. You gave us more than food. You gave us dignity." Daniel's eyes softened. "You gave it to yourself, Ethan. I just happened to see it." A year later, the diner closed for renovations. On its last night, Ethan, Lily, and Daniel met for dinner. Marcy was still working, still offering bread on the house. Lily now wore a bright blue dress and chatted excitedly about school. Daniel watched her and felt a quiet pride. She had been the one who'd first spoken to him, after all. As they ate, Ethan raised his glass of water. "To strangers who become friends," he said. Daniel raised his too. "And to little girls who teach big lessons." Lily giggled. "And to milkshakes," she added, and they all laughed. Outside, the neon sign flickered one last time before going dark for good. But inside, the glow of kindness, selflessness, and the simple power of humanity burned brighter than ever.